overnight, these big developments with the reporting, and I believe it's reporting that you have yourself matched, about the hold-up, the freeze on that Ukraine money coming just before the call to the Ukrainian leader.
NBC News, Andrea, was just able to confirm the timeline of when those funds were placed on hold. It did come, in fact, the week of July 18th. That's, of course, the week before the president had that phone call in question. Now, an administration official telling me, kind of underscoring what we've been hearing from the president throughout the day, that the funds were put on hold because essentially the president had directed a review of how they would be spent by his defense secretary, as well as former National Security Advisor John Bolton, to make sure that there was not going to be any waste or corruption related to those funds. Bottom line, though, the timeline has been confirmed by NBC News. President Trump was asked about this. He did not dispute the timeline or the story either, Andrea. This is what he had to say when he was asked about it. I know we're going to play the audio. He said there was no quid pro quo when he was talking to the leader of Ukraine. He went on to say there was no pressure. When he was asked about that holdup, he said he held the funds, quote, because I wanted other countries to pay. So I think you're going to hear that from President Trump repeatedly, Andrea. That is his reasoning for why those funds were placed on hold.
And as we were just saying, he's now talking about that. So let's listen.
Why is the United States the only one paying to Ukraine? And I've been talking about this for a long time, not only with respect to Ukraine, but a lot of other countries. But frankly, why isn't Germany? I just met with the chancellor. Why isn't Germany? Why isn't France? Why aren't these other countries paying payment? Why are we paying all the time? And nobody's given, I believe, more to Ukraine. You know, President Obama used to send pillows and sheets. I sent anti-tank weapons and a lot of things to Ukraine. We think that it's very important. And both, by the way, I don't know if you know it or not, that payment was made. But I wanted to get other countries. Other countries should also pay, because frankly, it affects them more. I mean, that's a barrier, that's a wall between Russia and the UK. And they don't pay. And why are they not paying? Why is it always the United States that's paying? And I made that loud and clear. I told that to Mick Mulvaney. I told it to a lot of people. Where's Mick, wherever he is? I told it to a lot of different people. I told it to Mike. I told it to two Mikes. I told it to Steve. Yes. I keep asking the same. I said it to Wilbur Ross. I keep asking the same question. Why is it that the United States is always paying these foreign countries, and other foreign countries that frankly are much more affected, they're not? So I said, hold it up. Let's get other people to pay. And then everybody called me, oh, please, can we pay? And I said, and there was never any quid pro quo. The letter was beautiful. It was a perfect letter. It was unlike Biden, who, by the way, what he said was a horror. And ask how his son made millions of dollars from Ukraine, made millions of dollars from China, even though he had no expertise whatsoever, okay? So what he did was a real problem. With us, there was no pressure applied, no nothing. Okay, folks, thank you very much. Thank you.
So you heard it there, Kristen Welker. Let me also bring in Michael Crowley, who's here with me. The president going after Joe Biden, going after Hunter Biden, despite the fact that that had all been investigated and cleared by anyone who's raised those issues. But bringing Biden into it, as he has for 2 days now at the UN, making this a political playing field for him rather than what one would expect from the leader of the free world.
It's extraordinary, and President Trump is going to have a news conference tomorrow evening. He could set aside, carve out some time to talk to reporters about these subjects where he's not there with world leaders who are wanting to talk about international issues, international diplomacy, but he can't restrain himself. And it's incredible because it's not even him doing it maybe one time to sort of pop the blister of the day and get his comments out into the news cycle. But as we saw yesterday, he's willing to do it over and over and over. This is a president who in recent weeks just kind of can't stop talking to the press. He's talking all the time, and it doesn't matter who he's in the room with. And yes, he's doubling down on attacks on Joe Biden. That's very much his method. This is a president who kind of thrives in attack mode, and he's not really interested in whether or not these allegations against the Bidens have any evidence to support them. He will just repeat them and repeat them. And I think, unfortunately, many members of his political base will just assume that there's truth to them. And that's been his survival strategy, and it looks like he's going to stick with it.
And Kristen Welker, this has political consequences. As we know, the Biden folks are concerned that this is what they might call Hillary 2.0, the feeling that back in 2016, the president was able to paint a picture of Hillary Clinton that was not accurate. Despite the email controversy, that became his sole message. But by repeating it over and over again, he has learned that it works for him politically.
He has, and I think that is why, Andrea, you're seeing such a fiery response from former Vice President Joe Biden, who was pressed on this topic over the weekend repeatedly. He repeatedly said the focus needs to be on President Trump. Yesterday, he tweeted out, released the transcript of that phone call with the president of Ukraine. And of course, we expect to hear from him a little bit later on today. Biden going to make remarks about this. What will he say? I anticipate he's going to reiterate some of those calls for all of this information to be released. Now, notably, Biden has stopped short of calling for the impeachment of President Trump. But as we've been reporting throughout the evening, overnight, and into this morning, Andrea, there are more and more Democrats who are jumping onto the impeachment bandwagon. And House Speaker Nancy Pelosi herself even said to be reconsidering her opposition to impeachment. Some critical meetings taking place on Capitol Hill about that today.
And what is
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.